Greetings, lovely people, and welcome to Lunar Not Lunar. And I will say, just to begin with, reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated, because I have not been on this channel in a very long time. Just checking it now, actually, I last uploaded January 21st. So it has been half a year, pretty much, and I have not spoken to you guys, so hi, how's it going? I have been wanting to make a video like this pretty much since the Reality War released, and I have been really fighting myself on what exactly I want to do with this episode, or this video, or whatever you want to call it. So, yeah. First off, I have obviously not spoken about Doctor Who at all since Power of the Doctor, since the final regeneration episode for Jodie Whittaker, and I have not gone back to that. I have not watched the episode either, so I have no idea what my real thoughts on that are. But in general, I mean, if you want to watch it, but I don't have fond memories of that era. The entire Chibnall era, to me, Jodie's entire run, was very poor, and I was not very kind to it. However, having since had the 60th anniversary, and then Season 1 and Season 2, oh boy, RTD2 was a resounding failure, it must be said, and I have many thoughts that I won't necessarily get through everything in this video, but I need to just start talking and see where it goes. And I will say up front, I've obviously not done any fast track reviews for anything from RTD2, so anything from the Star Beast to the Reality War, I have just not reviewed. I have not spoken about, I have not made videos about, and I would honestly like to go back through everything at some point, and hopefully that does become a thing that I do. I would like to actually go through and just talk through my feelings on everything. So some of this stuff is actually good. I quite like the 60th in general. Some of the specials have been alright. And then, Season 1 had some good episodes. I've recently rewatched Season 1, actually, and compared to Season 2, it's fantastic. But, obviously, the large... I don't even know what to say. The issue right now is that we don't currently know the state of Doctor Who. And it worries me, as a very long time Doctor Who fan. I've been watching religiously since Matt Smith was the Doctor, since his first season. And we're now at a crossroads where it isn't clear if the show is going to go on, semi-permanent or permanent hiatus, if it's just cancelled now, if we're going to be getting a different financial partner, because Disney have very much well and truly pulled out, because this entire era so far has been funded by Disney and Disney+. We don't know the future, really, and there are two exceptions to that. We obviously know that the spin-off series, The War Between the Land and the Sea, which I have my own issues with that in terms of titling. I think it's terrible. I also plan on doing a reaction to that trailer, because I still haven't watched it. But yeah, that series is still happening, and that is still under the Disney Plus, financial agreement sort of thing. But then, beyond that, we also know we're going to be getting a CBeebies animated series based around Doctor Who, which I think is cute, I think is fun. Obviously, things like the Sarah Jane Adventures were my childhood, and, other spin-offs like Torchwood, and even to some extent Class, are pretty fun. BBC Three stuff has been really good, CBBC stuff has been really good. Hopefully, CBeebies also has some good stuff, but that is other topics of discussion. I don't want to go into too much detail on that, because I want to talk about the main show, and the fact that with the release of the Reality War, the finale for Season 2, we are in a position where we don't have a clue if the show should even continue, never mind if it will, because at the end of Reality War, spoilers ahead for the entirety of the Russell T. Davies 2 era, and for the most part just Doctor Who in general. If you haven't seen Season 2 of Ncuti's run, watch it first. I don't necessarily recommend it, but if you wanted to watch this video and not be spoiled, I am going to discuss plot points throughout. So, yeah, the Reality War ends with Ncuti's regeneration, and it is done in almost exclusively about 20 minutes of reshoots. Around the 40-minute mark, the episode clearly changes from the original episode to what was presumably, or at least reportedly, reshot in early January this year. and it's obvious with like hairstyles, with clothing, like things don't fit or aren't fitted correctly. Certain outfits like collars are wrong, hairdos are just completely different. Like even the first person you see walk out of the TARDIS, Ruby, in the transition between the original episode and the reshoots, her hair is considerably longer and slightly differently styled. Not majorly, but like enough to be noticeable. And then Belinda as well, her eyebrows are different, her hair is a different style entirely, her like outfit is adjusted in a way that's just... There's a lot of very obvious continuity errors, and I do not blame the team at all for making those things. Obviously, enough time had passed, over a year, apparently, had passed between the end of Season 2 filming and then these reshoots. So, it's understandable that there's going to be continuity errors like that, but it just makes it so much more blatant and obvious at what point it changes, at what point it switches, and I think it really, really shows how much both Disney and the BBC have dropped the ball. And I am putting the blame for the state of this show very much on Russell T Davies' shoulders, don't get me wrong. But Disney are the reason this has gone so poorly. Because, they have funded the show, they have allowed it to have a spin-off, all this sort of great things, in theory for the show. But also they won't fund Season 3. They have refused to even say if they were interested or not in Season 3. And that still is the case now, even though they said that once the finale, once Reality War aired, they would, announce whether they would or would not. They have not announced anything, and that has led to Ncuti leaving, and it's really disappointing, because while I don't think we ever really got a true, this is the Doctor moment out of Ncuti, he is such a charismatic actor, and I honestly love seeing him on screen. I think, as much as I may complain about, him tearing up so often and, the emotional outbursts that he can sometimes fall, victim to, I still really love his Doctor. In the same way that I love Jodie's Doctor, regardless of her writing. And the same goes for this. Regardless of the writing quality and the, for want of a better word, fan wank that RTD has continued to put into every single one of these episodes, I would be lying if I said that I didn't like Ncuti, just as an actor, for the Doctor. I think he works really well, he's charismatic, he's likeable, I really, really enjoy him on screen, he has a great presence, and through the character of... Well, through Ncuti's version of the character of the Doctor, we were able to get some interesting takes on what it means to be the Doctor. I really liked the way they went with it all, and it's really disappointing that he is just left out to dry like this, especially when he then regenerates very, very bluntly, not bluntly, very poorly edited into Billie Piper. And I could go on so long about why this is a terrible idea. But the biggest thing, and we'll get back into this in just a moment, but the biggest issue that I have with it being Billy is that it's just another case of RTD doing fan wank. And as I say, I don't like using that term, but it's so accurate to what has happened here. We have seen in season 1, actually no, even going back to the 60th specials, as much as I liked them, we have Beep the Meep, random character introduced in the comics. We have... what is it? The Toymaker, classic villain that, really, in the grand scheme of things, isn't the most memorable. Is a liked character and, has appeared in audio dramas and stuff like that, but generally isn't all too special. What else do we have? Generally, actually, Season 1 doesn't have too much until Empire of Death, but Sutek, another deep-cut character, who then didn't even look like he did originally, and doesn't function the way he did originally either. Just a lot of weird things there. And then obviously in Season 2, we have the return of the Rani, a 80s Z-list villain who a lot of people that even watched at the time don't remember. I was talking to my parents who were watching at the time when the Rani was on screen the first time around, and they didn't remember, because she's not a very memorable character. And it says so much that, quote-unquote normies, people that don't care too much, are not going to care whether this character is a classic character or not. They're just going to see someone return, or someone appear on screen, I suppose, and go, oh, okay, that's a character. oh, they're a Time Lord? I guess that's neat. And beyond that, they might not even get that. And from my conversations with plenty of people that don't take it as seriously as me, Season 2 especially, but this entire era in general, has been really poorly received by just general audiences. And then obviously we have Omega, we have Susan, we have, even references back to earlier episodes in this era, so Rogue appearing in Wishworld for no apparent reason, just so many little things like that. And even just as much as I actually quite like it, the fact that Tennant returns for the 60th specials as a new incarnation of the Doctor, alongside Donna as well, and Wilf, which, I'm not complaining about Wilf at all, I love Wilf, but, rest in peace, Cribbins, but, there's so many just little issues with how they've decided to do this, and it honestly frustrates me to absolutely no end. It's very disappointing in general that they've gone the route that they have with it all, and the amount of, nostalgia grabbing and nostalgia baiting and all the different things that RTD has done to kind of go, oh, look, I remember this, do you remember this? And just referencing past episodes from Moffat and past episodes from RTD1, and just generally not being able to let go of the past in what was supposed to be a soft reboot for the series. There is a reason that I keep having to refer to this as Season 1 and Season 2 plus the specials, or plus the 60th, because they decided that despite this technically actually being Season 14 and Season 15, they have split it off from the original, New Who. They decided that Doctor Who 2005 to 2022 was one thing, and then Doctor Who, the current run, is a complete separate thing, starting with the 60th. But they can't let go of the past. And not even in the cute referential way that you sometimes saw from Moffat and RTD1, and even Chibnall to some extent. There are so many aspects to this current run, this current era, that just spit in the face of continuity, spit in the face of fans, sometimes literally, like in the case of In Lux, when they literally just take a moment to, in my mind, mock fans of Doctor Who in this really blunt way, where it's people that complain and people that rate and people that, just sit there and watch regardless, and, it's a very, very negative way to look at the people that, in many ways have kept this series alive. And this isn't even just talking about currently in New Who. In the Wilderness years, it was mostly fans that kept the series alive. The show was literally off air. The only thing that you had that was new was the audios and the books. And I guess the odd comic as well, because there were some going in the mid-time. But yeah, until the movie came out, there was nothing. And then after the movie, until 2005 with the revival, we once again had nothing. Fans have built this franchise and kept it relevant regardless of whether it's on screen or not. And it will continue to be relevant because of that. But they have truly, and once again, talking specifically about RTD, he has truly killed any interest that long-time fans actually have in this series. My immediate reaction after watching The Reality War was, I'm done. And that is so difficult, because I have said things about Doctor Who in the past where I've been very unhappy. I was very unhappy, and going back to it, I was very negative about Capaldi's final season. That season, having rewatched it since my original reviews, my original Fast Track reviews, is one of my favourites. I love that series. It's excellent. I have even gone back and watched a few of Jodie's episodes that I was a bit more negative on, and they're fun for what they are. I have, as I say, recently watched Season 1, and I just kind of feel numb. And it's not due to overall quality in a lot of ways. It's the fact that nothing goes anywhere. RTD has gone on record many times in many interviews and many other formats saying that he's just trying to find these, standout media moments, these, pop cultural moments. And I don't think that's the way to run a show. Especially a show like Doctor Who, which has never needed to force cultural moments. Just have good writing, and the cultural moments and, the memes and stuff like that will come to you. Not a day goes by that I don't see on my YouTube recommended some Capaldi and Clara being goofy for 10 minutes compilation, or the Fifth Doctor being chaotic for 7 minutes compilation, or stuff like that. Every single Doctor, arguably including Jodie, have had these moments that have been enjoyable out of context or in context. And the fact that they are now trying to manufacture these TikTok clips, these YouTube shorts and stuff like that, really speaks to the issues with current Doctor Who and this current era. And they have some success. Obviously, in Interstellar Song Contest, they had the Dugadoo song, which became a viral hit. I don't get it personally, but that's just me. I'm not going to pretend that I understand it. I'm just going to say it has done well, and I see why people, have found joy in something that is just kind of a bit silly. I like that. I think that's good for the community, and in general, that's a win. I don't think that Doctor Who, that BBC, that RTD thought that would be a viral moment, because it didn't really feel much like one. It felt like a random gag. And they have turned that into a 24-hour live stream. They've made that into remixes of other songs. Not the BBC specifically, but fans have made that into the First Doctor meets the Dugadoos as an entire lost media story. Just a lot of interesting stuff like that I think is really fun. But that same fun is just absent from the actual series, and it just makes me so disappointed in the overall era that we're in for Doctor Who. And, as I said, my initial reaction to Reality War was I was done. I was seriously unhappy. I didn't care anymore, and I was adamant that I'd go back and watch older stuff and even some stuff from this era again. But I was very much of the mind of, I'm not going to watch, The War Between Land and the Sea, or anything that comes in the future. I'm not going to watch Billy Piper, and that's not me saying I'm not going to. That's me saying what I was thinking at the time. I was so adamant about it, and since then I've chilled out a little bit. I'm glad I didn't make this video at the time, especially because I do want to do proper in-depth reviews of each individual episode. But yeah, the overall vibe that I'm getting from, normies, from, non-fans, from actual hardcore fans, from other fellow content creators, and just the entire community of Doctor Who fans, is that this has been one huge misstep that just keeps walking on rakes, that keeps stepping on rakes over and over again. We've got Sideshow Bob running the show right now, and it feels like it, especially with all the references, it feels like as fans we're being punished for liking the show as much as we do. It feels like the BBC, it feels like Disney, it feels like RTD don't actually want this show to succeed anymore. They're tired of it. They've had enough. They want it to be over, and they want us all to forget about it. But at the end of the day, we're not going to. There are so many creators that I watch that have basically said they're not watching the main series anymore, that they'll watch the spin-offs, they'll watch whatever CBC and CBBS and channel BBC 3, throw out there, but they're just done with the show until something better comes along. And the fact that bringing back Billy Piper has backfired in such a way, I think really speaks volumes to how bad of a misstep this has all been. But with that being said, that is really everything I can say right now. As I say, I want to go back and cover all of the Doctor Who that I have missed, and quite honestly, I've been thinking a lot, since my last video, which was, about Trump's inauguration, politics. I've been thinking a lot about what I want this channel to be, and the more I think about it, the more I would really like to focus on media again. I, do love a lot of franchises, and there are a lot of things that I want to talk about that I just don't. I watched Andor. I was a bit late to the party, but I adore that show, and I should have reviewed it at the time as I was watching it. And same goes with this era of Doctor Who. As much as I haven't liked all of it, I should have actually gone and every time I watched an episode, done a review, done my thoughts, done whatever it is I needed to do to, kind of put everything out there in the moment. Because instead, I've just let it boil up in me. And fair enough with some of this stuff, especially the specials. I have my letterboxd. It's still active. You can check that out in the description below. I do discuss specials. When I'm able to, will review entire series once they're finished. So I don't think Andor is on Letterboxd yet, but I will eventually add that to my Letterboxd with an actual bit of an in-depth review of the entire series. Once again, I would like to actually talk about those episodes in detail in a Fast Track review, because I love talking about media. It's one of my biggest passions, and the fact that I have just been frustrated so much with so many different elements of pop culture in, the last few months, the last few years, realistically, I really need to sit down and just talk to you guys again. And that does mean I, hopefully should make more content. I know I say that a lot, but I would really like to just come back to everything and start talking about shows again. When I look back, it's like I got one episode into Secret Invasion before I just gave up reviewing it. I ranted and rambled about Tales of the Empire. I did so many different things where I just kind of gave up. I reacted to the What If Season 3 trailer and then reviewed none of it. There's so many moments like that where I need to get better at actually talking about things. And that includes movie reviews, which I hope to come back to. I haven't done anything like that since Black Adam. And even then, I watched 3 films in one day for that Black Adam review. I watched Black Adam, the Black Panther movie 2, whatever that's what you call, Wakanda Forever, I believe, and Avatar: The Way of Water. I only did a review for 2 of the 3 of those. I just didn't review Black Panther: Wakanda Forever because I was burnt out, because that was 3 films that I watched that weren't that good. I like Black Adam enough, but this is such a tangent. The point is, I have been so burnt out on being negative, but then it's meant that I've not spoken about things that actually make me happy. I didn't speak about Andor, and I want to. And I want to talk about The Boys and Invincible and all the various things that I have actually enjoyed over the last few years that I've just not bothered because, Doctor Who's terrible, and Marvel's down the drain, and DC's down the drain. I need to still talk about those things, and I'll continue to, and as I say, I want to talk about Doctor Who a lot more now, but I need to also find things that I'm actually happy with, and talk about those as well. But with that being said, this was a long, rambling video that realistically didn't go anywhere, and I'm sorry about that. If you did watch this far, I really appreciate it. I would also appreciate if you liked the video, if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you never miss upload. Otherwise, comment below your thoughts and feelings on the current state of Doctor Who. And yeah, I'll hopefully see you pretty soon. Bye!
It's been a long week. I feel like I could use a vacation.